My name is Emily Vail. I'm the Executive Director of the Hudson River Watershed Alliance, and I'll be giving a quick welcome and introduction to today's workshop. The Hudson River Watershed Alliance works to unite and empower communities to protect our shared waters. We do this by supporting watershed groups, helping municipalities work together across boundaries, and communicating as a collective voice. This project, both this workshop and actually a lot of the work that we'll be presenting on today, has been funded in part by a grant from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund, the Hudson River Estuary Program of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So why are we talking about watersheds? You all filled the room for a workshop on watershed planning and characterization, but it bears repeating. Watershed is the land area where water flows to a specific water body, or perhaps a different definition might be a hydrologic connection that links the lands, waters, and people both upstream and downstream. Watersheds are the geographic unit best suited to understanding conditions and managing our waters. And of course, they cross political jurisdictions and require a really thoughtful process and a broader approach to understand and protect our waters. Today, we're focusing on locally led watershed characterization and plans, which typically have a focus on water quality, but they can also include things like habitat, climate resilience, flooding, environmental justice, lots of other topics. These are projects that are often led by a watershed group or a municipality, maybe a local nonprofit, an academic institution. And the process often includes applying for grant funding to undertake this kind of planning project, as opposed to a program like Resilient New York for flood studies, or the Drinking Water Source Protection Program for drinking water protection, which is really more about receiving technical assistance. So again, this is where the communities are leading charge here, and also often includes this grant application and administration process. So these kinds of plans are always grounded in community input, information, and priorities with a very strong scientific foundation to really understand and improve our waters. So today's goal is to really take a deep dive into the watershed planning process, but with a focus on watershed characterization as a foundational step. So today we'll have morning presentations, which will also be available for our folks on Zoom webinar, on watershed planning frameworks with a focus on the watershed characterization process. We'll hear from 2 case studies from the Punch Brook, Roloff, Jansenkill, and the Sparkhill Creek watershed. And then we'll hear from our state partners on funding and technical resources that support local watershed efforts. We'll break for lunch. And then this afternoon, we'll have an interactive working session to really provide some space and some tools to apply what you've heard today and help you think through motivations, approaches, partners, and your work to date. We hope that this can be really a working session where you have some next steps that you'll leave with so that we can make the most of our time here together. So we hope you'll leave with a better understanding of process options, but also those clear next steps in support of your watershed goals. And I just wanted to mention how thrilled I am to be here at Vassar, at the Heartwood and hosted by Vassar College, because I did my first watershed characterization as a college student at Vassar College, and my summer research landed in the Health of the Casper-Kill, Dutchess County, New York publication. And that work really informed how I like to think about how we understand our watershed, how we communicate that out, and ways to make it really actionable. So with that, a couple save the dates and announcements from the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. We have a watershed group capacity building cohort that a lot of you are participating in that starts next week. We're also, please save the date, Wednesday, June 3rd at the Falcon in Marlborough for our Wavemaker Awards benefit. You can nominate a Wavemaker awardee by this Friday. There's more information on our website and the link to submit an application. And then, of course, our annual Watershed Conference, please save the date for Tuesday, October 27. We hope to be back at the FDR Presidential Library and Museum in Hyde Park. So that's it from me. And next up, I'd like to invite Ingrid Heckel from the Hudson River Estuary Program.